Welcome to the Art of Classiness podcast, a show where we redefine what it means to be a classy lady. And sometimes it's messy. I'm Robin.
And I'm Deborah, two friends turned classy ladies who are here to discuss life's ups and downs, navigating the complexities of adulthood, and how the gift of friendship is essential to belonging.
Today we're talking about the toxic bestie none of us asked for, imposter syndrome.
The one that shows up in the group chat, the mirror, and your relationship whispering, they're all gonna find out you're a fraud.
We'll unpack where this imposter came from, sneaky places she shows up, and how to finally kick that bitch to the curb.
So follow along, give us your feedback, and don't forget to like and subscribe. What's up, classy ladies and gentlemen? Robin, how are you?
I am good and extremely pissed off.
Oh.
Actually.
Oh, no.
So last night, Seth and I binged the Sean Combs documentary.
I just started watching it.
First of all, shout out to 50 Cent. That is a level of petty that I could never get to, and props.
Props to him. Serious props, because I'm not hating to my fullest ability.
Yes.
Is what I realized.
Yes. And I mean, he did it so well. It's validated. What a piece of shit this guy is.
What a piece of shit.
To learn the full extent of it is wild. This man ruined so many lives. He ended so many lives. Let's be honest.
Seriously, the body count is insane of people alleged around him is insane.
He doesn't give a shit about anyone but himself.
Mm-mm.
And I mean, I just jaw to the floor a majority of the time. And I'm not going to be able to watch another documentary for a little while.
It's one of those that I'm going to have to do in small doses.
Dude, we couldn't stop.
I know. I started on Friday and I made it through, I think, halfway of episode 2 and just didn't get a chance to pick it up for the rest of the weekend. And I don't know when I'll have another chance, which is kind of frustrating because I'm going on a work trip this week. But I really, really want to finish it. I heard a few episodes in. It's really, really hard to watch. So I'm kind of bracing myself for that. But I'm very happy that a lot of these victims' stories are being told.
Yeah.
And a lot of these background stories are really finally being shown to light, because I think a lot of these stories were kind of told in the dark side of the internet and really being described in more of a conspiracy theory type of way.
Yeah.
And so it must be validating for a lot of these victims to see it in this light.
Yeah. 50 Cent gave them a voice. A lot of these court cases are still pending for these women. So I'm glad that 50 Cent gave them a platform to speak their truth. Whether or not it leans in their favor in the courts, at least they still got to speak their truth. And a lot of people are hearing them, and it's just so awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
50 Cent also, he specifically did an interview with ABC, apparently, because it's one of the few channels that can be watched in prison.
I love that so much. He couldn't be happier, too. Every interview I see him talking about this documentary, just grinning ear to ear. And it's so funny to me. It just goes to show, you stay on the right side. And 50 Cent always stayed on the right side of that relationship.
He sure did.
And, the cream always rises to the top. So good on him.
Yeah. So that's the most immediate thing that has happened to me this week. So
yes,
it's fresh on my mind. I had some interesting dreams.
Oh, man.
But that's me.
Do a palate cleanser. Go binge something lighthearted,
Yeah. So how are you?
I'm good. As I mentioned, I'm prepping for a work trip. I work for a mostly distributed company, so this will be the first time that the majority of people will be meeting each other for the first time. It's an end of year celebration in New Orleans, and my team has been primarily responsible for putting it together, but thankfully I joined at the part where most of the planning has been done. So when I get there, though, I'll be helping execute some of the last minute details and stuff like that. But I'm excited. I'm a little anxious from just a social standpoint, not knowing anybody. It's New Orleans and I don't drink. And, we're doing things like we're going to be on a steamboat cruise, so you're just kind of like stuck there.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it. We've got a lot of great stuff planned and just really excited to see the direction that the company is going in. So just kind of getting everything lined up for that. I haven't traveled in quite some time, so I will just be very busy this week. And then after that, it's like the year just feels like it's winding down and going to be over. Everything is just like I get home and it's just like bam, bam, bam. Kids have one more week of school and then they're home and then it's Christmas. And it's just like boom. It all just happens so quickly. So just trying to keep calm and cool and collected and take one day at a time. But yeah, man, this year has just been a wild ride. And I just can't believe that we are winding down 2025. It's so crazy.
It is crazy. And there's a lot to reflect on.
I know. So much.
Yeah. It's been one hell of a year.
And look at us now.
Look at us now.
Take a look at us now. But yeah, it is crazy to think of where we were this time last year. Just a handful of episodes in.
Yeah.
Not having any clue where this would take us, how many podcast episodes we would do. I think still kind of timid about even telling people that we were doing a podcast. And I feel a lot more comfortable with our role as co-hosts of this show.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I'm alone in saying I still have a big voice in my brain that is like, you're not really a podcast host.
I still struggle to talk about it when people ask, like, if they find out I have a podcast, they want to know what it's about. And I just deer in headlights, freeze, and Seth has to take over. He's my cheerleader. He's my manager. Like,
Your PR, your spokesperson.
yes.
Mhm.
It's so, I haven't grown so much in that department still.
It's a very common thing. And so that's why today we are tackling this really annoying friend that lives in many of our brains that we call imposter syndrome, talking about the sneaky ways that it shows up in our lives and hopefully arming ourselves and you with some ways that we can try to tackle and overcome and just kick this bitch to the curb, like we said.
Yeah. And I think this is the perfect time to discuss this topic coming up on the end of the year. So maybe it can help people with like that mindset shift that happens when we're starting the new year. Like, what am I going to achieve?
Mm-hmm.
Who do I want to be?
Yeah. You don't want this to hold you back from setting goals, right? As you're setting goals in January, you don't want to be like, well, I can't run a marathon. That's too much because I've never ran that far. No, get that imposter out of your head, right? Set those goals high. So yeah, that's a great point.
So we want to start with telling you a little bit about where imposter syndrome originated. And we're so surprised to find out that the term was coined. It was originally called imposter phenomenon in 1978 by two women psychologists, Dr. Pauline Rose Clance and Dr. Suzanne Imes. And they wrote this groundbreaking paper called The Imposter Phenomenon in High Achieving Women, Dynamics and Therapeutic Intervention. Some of the key facts about their study is that they first observed this in high-achieving women who, despite the objective evidence of success, they still felt like frauds and they just attributed their accomplishments to luck, timing, or deceiving others, which is just, I get it. I identify.
Mm-hmm.
So the original study was done with 150 highly successful women, all of whom felt they didn't deserve the success and they were afraid of being found out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this was originally termed as a female experience because this was in the 1970s where women were breaking into the male-dominated fields and often felt like they had to prove themselves. So Clance later developed the Clance Imposter Phenomenon Scale, which is still the gold standard measurement today. And she was quoted in 2015. So this is, 40 years later, as saying, I thought it was just my women clients. Then I realized I felt it too.
Man, man. Like she has the research to know better, and yet she was still experiencing that same phenomenon of the term she coined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wild. Just like a mirror right there. Like, wait a second.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is that even though it's definitely coined as a women's issue, it definitely does not stop at women.
Yeah.
And, research shows that men also experience this at similar rates, and they just don't talk about it as much, right?
Partially because they're better at faking it till you make it.
Yeah, 100%.
They don't have a problem with it at all.
No, they don't. And they get to hide behind the male ego, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, guys. We know it's hard for you too, but not as hard.
Nope.
So I, for one, can say that I have experienced this so deeply throughout my career. And I was just about to do it. I was going to say, I've been fortunate enough to be in leadership roles. No, I earned those leadership roles.
That's right.
Okay, I've worked hard. I have multiple degrees. I sometimes worked harder and did more work than the people on my team and made tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars less than my counterparts and still felt like I was a fraud for being there. So I'm just excited to dive further into this topic today.
Yeah. So we want to talk about how imposter syndrome affects specifically millennials. And a lot of that has to do in part with the time that we came into the workforce. We still had boomers, the older generation, making us think like, follow these steps, you will achieve these things. And 2008, boom, the market crash.
Mm-hmm.
Jobs were few and far between. Instagram became prevalent where people are selling this lifestyle, whether or not it's true. Doesn't matter because you're comparing yourself to that image that's being presented, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's the economy crashing and people creating these fake lives online, appearing to be successful, happy, attractive, and it really amplified the I got lucky versus I earned this type of war going on in our brains.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because the clash of the internet slash content creator that is Instagram with the recession of 2008, right? Millennials were joining the workforce and also being told that we should have had it easier than any other generation. We had the internet, we had access to information, there were so many jobs, there was much opportunity. And then we finally get a chance to prove ourselves and the jobs disappear, right?
Yeah.
And then simultaneously, you have a new way of seeing the world and communicating, and you are a voyeur into people's lives that look so successful. And this cognitive dissonance of, well, I'm not there, right? But where I am, I feel successful, but I'm not as successful as that person that I'm seeing. So like there's this comparison game going on. It's almost like you're never achieving where you feel other people are. Therefore, that lack of your perceived achievement makes you feel like an imposter.
I had imposter syndrome all throughout school. I got a degree in graphic design and I was at all of these creative courses, printmaking, painting, 3D design, all sorts of stuff. And I'm just surrounded by brilliant minds. In hindsight, I'm able to reflect on this, but at the time I wasn't able to label it. But I felt like I had to do everything a certain way to be considered talented for people to like my work. And all it did was make me procrastinate and dread working on the projects because I wasn't putting myself into it. I wasn't just seeing what happened.
Ugh. You know what's interesting? Imposter syndrome is talked about almost exclusively as it pertains to work.
Mm-hmm.
But I have felt imposter syndrome literally since I was in kindergarten. I remember my first day of kindergarten, and I don't really remember what the exercise was, but everybody seemed to get it a lot quicker. And I realized that there were kids in the class that had either gone to pre-K or were in daycare together. And my mom stayed at home. So that was like my first experience, like outside of the home. And I truly remember thinking like, they all get it. And like, I think I missed a step. Like, I think I missed a day. I felt from the jump
Oh, man.
that everybody else was on one page and I was not on the same page. Like, I viscerally remember that feeling of they belonged there and I did not. And so that feeling has kind of stayed with me literally as one of my first memories.
And that's so, I don't want to say sad.
I mean, it is kind of sad.
It's so sad to think about little
Debbie.
5 or 6-year-old Debbie is already thinking those things about herself. Like,
I know.
and that also, I think, contributes to the generation that raised us.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know how to teach us those tools of finding confidence within yourself and, knowing how to label your emotions and talk about your feelings. I think it all contributes to this level of imposter syndrome that we experience at such a young age.
Yeah. And again, like, I think why we are framing it as not exclusively a millennial issue, but one that impacts us is that newer generations have these coping mechanisms. You have gentle parenting, you have more access to therapy, you have parents that are more self-aware
Yeah.
and are teaching a level of confidence in their children that like we did not really have access to.
Yeah, it's admirable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of jealous of the way Gen Z and Gen Alpha are able to just unapologetically be themselves.
Right.
It's awesome to see. I just wish I wish I could have grown up with those same tools.
I know. Well, let's talk about 3 sneaky places that imposter syndrome can hide. Like I mentioned, we talk about it so much about how it exists in the workplace, but it definitely seeps into other areas of our life that we wanted to unpack and expose.
And we want to focus on this in like the group setting of friendship because you go through so many different phases in your teenage years, your young adulthood, into your 30s, where, once upon a time you were all moving at the same rate. But once you get to adulthood, people take off in all sorts of different directions. And so we want to focus on where that puts us mentally when we're getting together with our friends.
Yeah. And there's no better example than when you're getting ready in the mirror together to go out.
Yes. And I can attest, like, I did not have any kind of fashion sense. And I always felt ridiculous, like, getting ready next to friends. Like, I didn't know how to put on makeup. This was the time of having jeans and a dress top.
Yeah, going out top.
Yeah, the going out top. I only had a few going out tops.
Same.
And I just cycled through those because I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I specifically remember going to this boat party with some of our classy lady friends, and I didn't understand the assignment. Go meet up with them. Everybody's in dresses, have their hair done, makeup, and I was just in jeans. And I ended up borrowing one of the girls' shirts, and I get Facebook reminders of pictures from that day, and I just look so ridiculous next to them.
Honestly, like, the getting ready to go out was probably one of my least favorite things to do. Not necessarily in college because it was usually hand in hand with the pregame, which is when you're drinking, right? And that was, my coping mechanism. And, the fun part about doing that in college is that, you always have really small spaces like our houses and our dorm rooms were just not built for this activity. So you've got one girl standing, another girl sitting on the floor. Like that part of the camaraderie is fun, but the comparison game is so troubling.
Yeah.
And for me, I was never really taught how to do makeup. And so it would make me very subconscious to do it in front of other people. And I could also be in and out in 10 minutes tops. 10 minutes tops.
Yep.
And I got the full face done. And I would watch friends sit there for 45 minutes just putting a face on. And I just would be like sitting around, kicking my feet and just thinking like, why are they taking so long? do I look stupid? Did I do it wrong? And obviously, I'm not. At some point, someone would have told me by now if I'm doing makeup wrong.
Mhm.
I think I look good,
Yeah.
but I still have that fear of like, is this not how you do it? Am I not doing it right? It's so dumb.
Dude, I always wonder how women are able to apply makeup in such a way that it looks like their skin was just airbrushed.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I try to achieve that look, that don't work. Don't work for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just basically look like just a slightly heightened version of myself. And, I have friends that look just much more put together.
Mhm.
There was an era, like the early aughts, where you've got deep contouring and like big eye makeup,
Oh my
like
god.
big lashes. And like, I just never did that, And so, yeah, the getting ready in the mirror. And then, of course, there's like you mentioned, the clothing aspect or body comparisons,
The body comparison is the worst.
that was always something that would make I would go somewhere feeling really good about myself. And then the second we would start getting ready, I would just feel like 6 pounds of sausage in a 5-pound casing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And your friends will tell you, "You look so amazing. You're so beautiful. Let's take a selfie."
Mm.
And you can't help but think sometimes like they're just being nice
Yeah.
because they have to be because they love me.
Mm-hmm. Like they look really good, but like I am the chunky friend. I am the not the attractive friend.
For me, like I'm the pasty friend. I can't show off my legs because I'll get made fun of. That's true. It's not in my head.
But who is going to make fun of you for your legs?
A lot of people, surprisingly. I don't wear shorts.
I know. I know this about you.
Yes. And there's a reason for that.
Mm-hmm. And I don't wear bodycon clothes, I've got a door frame body, Put me in a turtleneck and I look like a tube of toothpaste. I could go on.
Oh my God, Deborah. Tube of toothpaste. Jesus. Oh.
But it's so bad. Like, we're so mean to ourselves.
Yes.
And what's crazy is, Robin, if you and I were getting ready together, I would never know that you were having those thoughts about yourself. And you probably wouldn't know that I'm having those thoughts about myself. So it's like we're all sitting together having this weird internal dialogue, these like comparison Olympics
Yeah.
about not being good enough, but not being good enough for what? Or like not belonging where? It's so crazy how that manifests itself in a group of friends where you really should feel the safest.
Right.
So that's one terrible place where it shows up. I think another big place where imposter syndrome shows is the social media highlight reel, this window into other people's worlds.
Oh my God.
Right. Everyone is posting their wins. Everybody is posting how good they look,
The trips they're on.
the new job that they got, and you just feel like you are not achieving at the level that everyone else is achieving.
Yeah. And I imagine a lot of people feel like this pressure to have brag-worthy updates.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just good enough to say, like, I enjoyed hanging out on my back porch today with a book,
Yeah.
which sounds lovely now.
Right. Right. Well, and beyond just seeing what other people are posting and being jealous, because imposter syndrome is not just about like being jealous of other people's success. There's also, and I have felt this too, like when I get a new job or if I post something about myself, when people congratulate me or like, "Oh my God, I'm so proud of you." I'm always like, it's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Like it's just like
You play it down.
I play it down. Like this most recent job that I got, everyone was like, "Congrats, that's amazing, that's awesome." And I'm so quick to be like, "It's a contract to hire."
Yeah.
Like it sounds like a big deal. It's just a contract to hire. Like I don't even know if they're gonna pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it still is a big deal. Like I
Yeah.
wanted this for so long. So it's like, even though I am participating in that same highlight reel, when you are the one that gets to brag about it, it still doesn't feel good.
I'll use this podcast as an example again. For the longest time, Seth was telling people that I was a podcast producer. I was like, no, I'm a podcast host. He's like, you edit the episodes, you plan them out, you're a producer. And I'm just like, I don't really know what I'm doing though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not joking. This is how I would talk about myself.
Right. Or even when we won our award,
Yeah.
we were like, oh, it was just a small.
It was just a small thing.
It's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Because I don't know if it's like we must always show gratitude at all times.
Gotta stay humble.
Or if like we just truly aren't fully realizing what we have accomplished.
And aside from playing the comparison game with our friends and other people on social media, there's also this type of imposter syndrome that exists within the dating world.
Mm-hmm.
And you get all these butterflies, things feel great when you meet someone that you really like. And then immediately, I don't know about you, but as soon as it feels amazing, I start feeling like they're going to figure me out. They're going to think I'm too much, not enough. I'm not achieving enough. I definitely felt this dating Seth because of how successful he already was. I felt like I needed to present a certain version of myself to make him want to stick around.
I definitely can relate to this, and I'm going to choose my words carefully. But upon reflecting on my dating history, I think a coping mechanism is to date below my weight class, if you know what I mean. It was embarrassing to know that like I was not really dating someone that was worthy of my time. And that person that was not worthy of my time was completely consuming my life, you know?
Yep, I do, because I've done it as well. I think a lot of women do it, especially those of us who have been kind of traumatized to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
The relationships that we saw growing up, the way that we were spoken to growing up. I definitely had this I can fix them type of mentality, or like I see the potential. And I've, learned over time, it doesn't matter what you see, are they doing it?
Yeah.
But I think it still like falls under that umbrella of this is what I deserve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. Had I actually gone and dated someone that was meeting me at my standards, I probably would have been in a healthier spot. But I didn't feel like I deserved someone at that level at that time because I was reeling from my divorce.
Right.
So it can manifest itself in a way that really does an injustice to you.
Right.
And makes you settle.
It's everywhere. Imposter syndrome is everywhere. It's contagious. And I think oftentimes we don't even know how to label it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where your friendships come in. Because even though we oftentimes find ourselves comparing to even the closest of friends, comparing ourselves to them, you have to remember that they're there because they love you and they want to support you. And so we want to talk about the friendship imposter antidotes that can actually work, where we all lift each other up.
Yes. Instead of hiding from your friends or even letting the comparison game between your friends really bolster that imposter syndrome person that lives within you.
Yeah, it can poison your friendships, really.
It really can. It could maybe keep people from even entering your home, to keeping you from trips with them because you don't feel as financially stable. So sunlight is the best disinfectant. So let the sunlight in, and your friends are the sunlight, baby.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are some ways that your friends can be the antidote to imposter syndrome.
We agreed on 3 practices that you can implement in your everyday life. And the first one, which I think is my favorite, is the imposter group chat. And this is where you create a group chat with your friends that is specifically for venting about your feelings of fraud, or feeling like a fake, feeling like you don't deserve that promotion. This is a space for you to be vulnerable, where no one's going to judge you or make you feel bad for the way you're feeling because this group chat is specifically for that.
Yeah, whether it's like a task at work, like sometimes people will ask me to do stuff and I'm like, I don't really know how to do that. And then the more I'm a professional, the more I realize that no one really knows how to do stuff until they've been asked to do it for the first time. And so this would be a great time for me to send a chat being like, oh my God, you guys, they asked me to create an entire policy. Can you believe it? And I could easily see Melissa being like, oh my God, do it. Like, you got this. Like, no one really knows.
Yeah.
Everything is just words, and you can kind of laugh at each other, but also even just saying it out loud kind of just takes that shame away.
Takes the shame away. And I think another way to phrase it is that it lifts a weight off of your chest where you don't feel so alone with this problem.
Right.
And if you have, these truly supportive friends, they're going to coach you. They're going to provide you with solutions sometimes, or they might even give you their own anecdotes where they were in the same position once.
Sometimes I have to remind myself that I owe all of my closest friendships to the fact that I faked my way to getting a job at Fido. I just walked in under the advice of someone who had just gotten fired from Fido.
That's right.
I said, hey, Keith, Dave said that I could work here. Dave told me to come in and interview with you today, that you guys needed a new server. I had never talked to Dave in my life. And Keith was like, oh, okay, sounds good. I guess you can start next Thursday.
Yep, because none of them communicated.
Because none of them talked to each other. And that is literally how I got my job. So sometimes faking it till you make it can change your life. Literally, you just have to make shit up sometimes. And those are the things that you would learn in a group chat, right? Or just like be reminded of in a group chat. So I love that as a strategy to just help squash those feelings.
Which I think this is a great transition to our other practice. And that's the I'll tell you my win if you tell me yours game. Sometimes, like we were talking about earlier, is that we struggle to talk about our wins.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to be braggadocio. You don't want to be the one that's always like, hey, this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me.
Yeah. And so the way to, I think, make it easier to talk about your wins is to say, like, you're not allowed to share good news unless the other person goes first, which kills the I don't want to brag excuse. Hopefully, though, they have something to say.
Yeah. And you can phrase it like, hey, what's your good news for the day? Or maybe like, hey, what's your high for the day? High, low, buffalo. It's a game I play with my kids,
Yeah, I love the high-low game.
And that can be a real easy way to open the door for someone to just share something big or small. And then you can share the same.
Yeah, I think comparing this to the high-low game is actually a really good idea because then there's not so much pressure on the other person either to have to think of a win per se, just like what's something positive from your day? And they could be like, I finally organized my garage. I'm like, wow, that's fantastic. I'm so happy for you. What a relief that must feel like. And then you get to say, I got a promotion at my job. It just everyone's in a good mood.
Exactly.
Everyone achieves something.
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
This last one I think is really cute and you can celebrate it in different ways. And that is the annual accomplishment check-in. I saw a TikTok and I just thought this was so cute. There was a big cake in the middle and everybody had a little flag. Every flag had an accomplishment written on it. And they walked up and they're like, this year I worked out 300 days and I met my goal. Or I finally got a promotion I worked really hard for. Or I bought a house for the first time. And they all put their little flags on the cake and then they celebrated. And the best part about this video was that not a single one of those accomplishments had anything to do with a romantic relationship. They were all like personal, professional accomplishments. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they weren't tied to like I'm getting married. You know what I mean? They were like things that they had worked on for themselves. And so whether it's doing something like that or, we've all seen those like trauma salad videos where it's like, I grew up in a cult and I brought sour gummies. And then you pour it in a bowl. You could be like, I, ran my first marathon and I brought M&Ms, right? Something where everybody comes and they can really celebrate any win that they had that year.
And then you get to eat a bunch of candy.
And then you get to eat candy or cake or whatever you want.
You know what? Everybody just bring a tasty treat.
Celebrate,
Cake, cupcakes, candy, ice cream.
Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. Okay?
Exactly. So those are ways you can tackle imposter syndrome with your friends, but it's really something you should work on with yourself. And so we wanted to find and share different ways to really change the neural pathways in your brain. Because when you live with imposter syndrome, especially someone like me, who literally one of my first memories is feeling like I wasn't supposed to be there, you really got to do some deep and daily work to change the way that your brain works. So these are 3 ways. Some of them sound very kooky, but you know what? Might as well try it, right?
Yeah. I love this first one. You discovered this on TikTok?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always.
Brushing your teeth with the opposite hand, your less dominant hand, while saying, I love you to yourself. Obviously not with your mouth and your mind. This is a technique to foster that self-love and rewire the negative neural pathways that combines this simple routine with positive affirmations.
Yeah.
I actually tried this morning.
You did?
I did.
Nice.
I was saying more than I love you.
Oh, good.
I was like, you're beautiful. You have such pretty eyes. Like,
I love that. Yeah. And, now I will tell you, I have a weird relationship with brushing my teeth and looking at myself in the mirror. So if you don't like that, you can do something like doing your makeup, right?
Doing your makeup with your non-dominant hand.
Now that I'm saying that, doing eye makeup with your non-dominant hand might not
look like your child did it.
right. But maybe like putting moisturizer on your skin, right? Something that you don't normally do with that hand.
Okay.
And making eye contact with yourself and saying it. So that way you're really looking at yourself and taking it in. And while you're trying to teach another part of your body to do something, it's going to like connect that thought on a deeper level. And it's all about repetition. So you can't just do it once. You got to do it every single day until it's a habit. And you'd be surprised. You might start having more positive thoughts about yourself.
Right. Another exercise, and I really like this one because this is something you can do every day, multiple times a day with the smallest of tasks. So your brain strengthens whatever it is you repeat. Okay, so if you're repeating all these negative things to yourself, your body's going to start to believe it. Whether or not it's true, it doesn't matter. So deliberately practicing new thoughts can create new neural routes. One example is choose a replacement thought for your most common self-doubt. For example, instead of, I'm not qualified for this, you can try, I'm learning at a pace that matches my growth. It's the same thing, but you're flipping it in a way that commends the work that you're putting in.
Yeah, I like that. And it's not just about thinking that thought once. It's about repeating it in your brain over and over and over again.
Yes.
So when that thought, I'm not qualified for that, enters your mind, it's, nope, I'm learning at a pace that matches my growth. I'm learning at a pace that matches my growth. I'm learning at a pace, you know what I mean? You have to repeat it like a mantra over and over in your brain. So that way you really dispel that deeply ingrained thought that you are not worthy or that you're not ready to take on a new task when really you are growing towards that new task.
Right. I find myself doing this naturally sometimes, which, that is progress. And I love that I'm slowly adapting to this new way of thinking. And an example is when I made pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving, I made my own crust from my own fresh milled flour. This was my second time to ever make pie crust. And I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea how it was going to turn out. In fact, my first pie crust I like spread it out too much and I had all this extra dough. So I just like put it on top at the bottom. And I was like, this is my Frankenstein pie.
Mhm.
And I was just like, it's going to turn out how it's going to turn out because I'm not redoing this. And it actually was delicious.
Yeah. Mhm.
And my second crust, just from that, like my second pie crust looked so much better.
Mhm.
And I was not mean to myself
Yeah.
because I knew it was going to taste good.
Yeah. Yeah. And even commending yourself after you make a mistake by saying, I like the way I learned things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've learned that in a new way now, right? And it is a lot more work than relying on the grooves that are already in your brain, right? Because that is the path of least resistance.
It's true.
But the outcome is so much richer and so much better for you in the long run. So you have to commit to it.
And sometimes, regardless of the work we've done, we have some cloudy days, especially as women on our cycle. You get into that luteal phase and all hell breaks loose. You don't know yourself anymore.
Just don't want to be around me.
Yeah. And that's when an evidence folder can come in handy. And this is where you collect screenshots of wins, nice texts from your friends, your own solid proof that you are not a fraud.
Yeah. It's a good way to see yourself as a third party entity.
Yeah.
It's like you got to see yourself in that third way. And I also knew someone whose therapist recommended this to her, and it really worked as she was coping through an eating disorder. She had her favorite picture of herself on a mirror like the mirror that she would use to get ready.
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily as a comparison, but so she would really appreciate who she was every day,
Mm-hmm.
like just having a really pretty picture of herself so she would admire herself the same way that, she would admire a stranger on the street.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Aw, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another option. And we might label this as the ultimate classy flex. And that is sharing your win with zero disclaimer, which can be very hard to do for some of us.
Yeah.
For example, I got the promotion, full stop.
That's it.
That's it. And, let the congrats roll in.
Just receive it.
I earned this. I got it.
Yeah.
No, they almost picked so-and-so and I totally thought they were way more qualified. No, they chose you. You got it.
Yeah. The hardest thing for women to do is full stop share good news.
It is.
The hardest word for us to omit is just. It's just a part-time position. It's just a small company, It's just an associate manager position. It's not. And it's so diminishing.
It really is.
We have to remove it from our vernacular.
Yes. And maybe that's something that you can build a pact with your friends around. We talked about the group chat where you get to, just put it all out there. This can be the other side of it where they understand how much it takes for you to just state your achievement without downplaying it.
Mm-hmm.
And they take on that role of the friend who continues to lift you up and validate that win.
Mm-hmm.
No questions asked.
And if it makes people uncomfortable, then they don't deserve to be around you, in my opinion. It's a good repellent.
I agree. Truly. Yeah. Real friends want to lift you up. They want to see you win. They want to see you achieve your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, some sore thumbs can stick out through that process.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, when all else fails, sometimes you just can't get rid of that voice, right? And you have to learn how to live with it. And I think the best thing you can do in that situation is you got to name it so that way you can just be aware of it. Because when you name it, you're really making it separate from who you are. So when I was in therapy, love that sentence, my therapist made me name my inner critic. And I'm not going to share the name, but it is a real life person. This person, I may have never crossed their mind, but in my head, they were always talking about me behind my back. Like, if I were to post something, I could almost hear that person make fun of it. Do you know what I mean? And I might not even be a blip on their radar, but to me, that person is my inner critic. So that's the name that I've given it whenever I have those really dumb spiral thoughts. So it helps because now it's like that person's problem. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. When I was drinking more frequently, like when I was single and going out, and sometimes would get a little too drunk and, maybe do something embarrassing. The next day, I would call her Rachel. That was Rachel
Mm-hmm.
that did that. I can't speak for her. I don't know. Wasn't me.
Right, right.
So you could give this voice an actual name, or you can label it for what it is. Like, that's the perfectionist in me talking, or
Mm-hmm.
that's the comparison critic showing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that can hopefully help depersonalize it. It doesn't feel like an inherent flaw within you,
Right.
just a third party situation.
Exactly.
Great. All right. Well, hopefully we gave you the tools that you needed to overcome or at least learn how to live better with your imposter syndrome. If you guys have tips and tricks, if you've been able to overcome it, or if you have a clever name that you have given your little bitch imposter syndrome, email us at artofclassiness@gmail.com.
Yes, we want to hear your stories. We want to hear your biggest win
Yeah.
despite that imposter trying to wear you down, make you believe you don't deserve it. We're here to tell you you do, and we would love to hear about it.
All right. Well, it is time for our class act of the week. This is where Robin and I take turns highlighting or sharing a person, place, or thing that we just felt had a little touch of class. And this week, it's Robin's turn. Robin, what's your class act of the week?
Well, we're in the month of December. It is the season of giving. And yesterday, Seth and I went to a pet store here in Bend. It's called Mud Bay. Really great pet store. They have a lot of natural treats for dogs, tons of toys. We got Penny a ton of stuff. She was so excited. And when we were checking out, they said you can donate to one of 3 shelters that need assistance. And so we decided to buy some food, and you get to pick which charity you want to contribute to. So there were 3 different places that they gave us the option to donate to, and the one that I picked was specifically a shelter for senior dogs.
Mm-hmm.
That just immediately melted my heart. I was like, they need love.
Yeah.
Help these senior doggies. And so I think this is something that they do year round, but we haven't been in the store before, so we just learned about it. But there's some other things that they do too. Like, they're such a great store. They're like, any of this stuff you don't like, the treats you got for your dog, whatever, if they don't like it, just bring it back. We'll refund you. No problem. She said that so many people have been donating that they have just crates full of stuff for these shelters to come and pick up all the time, which is just so amazing. And yeah, I want to give mad props to Mud Bay and their methods of giving back, their generosity, especially for these bigger stores. I think it speaks volumes about the people who run it, and it makes me that much happier to put my money there.
Yeah.
I want to spend my money where they are taking some of their profits to give back, providing opportunities for us to help. Because a lot of times with donations, charities, people don't know where
Right.
to put it. And so a lot of times you just end up not. So when they just hand the options to you, it's a lot easier. Like, oh yeah, let's give them some. I think we got some turkey pate. I was like, that sounds so fancy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel a lot better going to get Penny's pet supplies from there versus Petco or PetSmart.
Yeah.
These giants who try to dominate the industry for their own personal gain,
I know.
So yeah, Mud Bay is my class act of the week.
I love that. 'Tis the season to give back. Okay, well, it's time for our final and favorite segment, our class or crass. We bring you a scenario and we decide Is it classy or is it crassy? Are you ready for this week?
Yes.
At a Secret Santa, you bring a gag gift that's clearly targeting someone in the group. Is it classy because everyone knows you're close and you can laugh about it? Or crass because it's actually passive-aggressive wrapped in tissue paper?
Okay. I don't think a Secret Santa is the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to do a gag gift and it is funny, like just let that be a bonus gift.
Yeah.
You know, like I actually specifically remember doing Secret Santa at Fido one Christmas.
Yeah.
And this was still when I was not 21 yet. I was 20. And the person that had me gave me a bottle of apple cider instead of actual champagne.
Yeah.
They thought that was so funny. And that was my gift.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, cool. But that's a shitty gift.
Yeah.
No, I hear that. But then sometimes, though, it lands. At that same Secret Santa, someone got me a bucket. My pukey
Debbie. I was there for
my pukey Debbie bucket because I throw up a lot when I would get hungover. And so that did land well with me because, what can I do?
But didn't you get something else with it?
A helmet.
That's
A helmet.
right.
I got a helmet and a bucket. And now I will say, like, if I was just 5% more sensitive, I would have probably been embarrassed and upset. And even more so, I was not at this Secret Santa. I was traveling and people were sending me pictures. People were wearing the helmet all night and like running into walls wearing it. So I was just getting pictures and like people were calling me and so I wasn't even there to receive it, but I actually felt very seen and loved with that present.
Yeah. Hey, someone put a lot of effort into that. Like you had like stickers on it and it
Yes.
spelled out Pukey Debbie.
Yes.
A thought went into that one.
A thought went into it.
Way more than my gift.
Exactly. So to me, like it's a very thin line. Like, are you close enough where you can give someone a gag gift with love and it is received well?
Yeah.
And B, is the person receiving it, do they have a good sense of humor?
Yeah. Yeah. It is a fine line. And for me, I handle things like Secret Santa the way that I would want someone to handle it towards me. So I work really hard to get a thoughtful gift.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine only doing a gag gift that may or may not land. I think most of the time it doesn't.
Right. I don't want to be seen for the dumbest thing that I did or the most embarrassing thing that I did. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not only that, but then being presented that gift in a group setting to just even further the humiliation. And then there's someone that's like, what does it mean? And they're like, oh my God, this one time she peed her pants. And you're like, oh my God, this is like humiliating. So I think that this is a dangerous game to play. And because of that, I would rule this crass.
I agree. I mean, consider that, this is the season of giving and showing appreciation for the people in your life that mean the most to you and lead with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think gag gifts can be fun, but maybe do that for a birthday.
Yeah.
Or something, like, I don't know.
At best, give them the real gift. At the end of the night, pull them aside and be like, you know what I was going to get you?
Yeah.
And then, then you didn't actually do it. And then you could gauge their reaction. And if they were like, oh my God, I would have killed you. Then you're like, phew, glad I didn't do it.
Yes.
Right. And then no harm was done.
That's actually a great solution. That's a great solution.
You don't want a Fruity Pebbles situation.
Oh my gosh.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Whew. Yeah. Keep it private, in my opinion.
Yep. Stay classy.
Stay classy. Well, we just spent an hour admitting we're all secretly waiting to be exposed as frauds.
And somehow it feels better?
Turns out the antidote isn't another degree, another promotion, or another filter. It's your friends calling your bluff and refusing to let you shrink.
So start the Imposter group chat. Do the Tell Me Your Win pact. Keep that evidence folder. Say the win with no disclaimer.
And the next time your brain whispers, you don't belong here, answer out loud, watch me, bitch.
We want to hear your sneakiest imposter moments. Send us your stories at artofclassiness@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram or TikTok at Art of Classiness.
Thanks for listening. And remember, classy is a state of mind.
So mind your classiness. Bye.